Since the times of antiquity, sport has played a key role in the development of human culture. From chariots of the Romans to bicycles of France, sports have served to display a nation's finest, those who truly achieved the peak of mankind. Unfortunately, over recent years the development of new sports has been exceptionally slow. It is a rare sight for an activity truly worthy of the designation of a sport. So much so that activities such as gaming and chess are now considered by some to be a sport. However, there is one activity that mankind has partaken in since time immemorial, one almost every man has done, yet is still varied enough in skill level to be able to be considered a sport. This is of course in reference to the practice of jacking off, better known as masturbation. There are various activities that are either equal to or less physically demanding as jacking off. These include activities such as golf, shooting, and fishing. All of these sports are, by their very nature, reliant entirely on the skill of the participant, rather than a mixture of both the physical requirements and the activity. This reflects a shift in perception of sport that has been transpiring since at least 1904, when golf was first admitted into the Olympic Games. Discussion on how sport has changed aside, there is nothing that golf in its consideration as a sport that jacking off does not have. Both are activities in which the skill lies entirely within the movements of the hand and wrist, do not require movement anywhere else in the body, and potentially award points based on the speed of the player, elaborated on below. One may use the argument that activities such as golf are different due to the measurability of skill. To continue with the previous example, golf has a strict set of rules that determine how many points are scored in one game. While this may seem convincing at a glance, once real thought is applied, it becomes clear that jacking off could use not one, but three separate point systems, which would ideally function as follows. 1. Endurance. This system would be the only requiring external pornography as necessary. Before the competition, each player would be shown various pornographic films while having their brain patterns scanned to detect what genre of pornography arouses them the most. Were the budget of the organizing party large enough, pornographic videos may be produced beforehand in order to fine-tune the videos to each contestant's fetishes and sexual preferences, in order to make the competition as fair as possible. Each player would be required to jack off to a beat that increases in frequency until only one player remains, who is the victor. 2. Distance and accuracy. Perhaps the most niche of the three systems, the distance/accuracy system measures players not on the jacking off itself, but rather from the cum released on ejaculation. This system would give each player a target to aim for, at a certain distance away, for the sake of the argument 2 meters. The player who hits the closest to the bullseye of the target will win, and if 2 or more players score the exact same, then the activity repeats until one player is a clear winner or all other players have forfeited. 3. Technique and speed. This system is both the simplest and the most likely to be used in a women's sport. The rules are simple. The players must be the first to ejaculate using whatever stealth stimulatory methods they so wish. Supplementary pornography would be optional in the system, though it would be at the behest of the organizer and would be universal to all players, once again to assure fairness. As one would likely expect from such a sport, there is a market for such an activity. As one would likely expect from such a sport, there is a market for such an activity, taking a purely sexual approach to the sport. While not a titan of the pornographic industry like blowjobs, anal, or hentai, masturbation is a moderately popular pornographic genre in its own right. The alternative would be to view it in a purely competitive vein. The addition of competition to the genre may see a boost in its popularity, as viewers watch in either arousal or curiosity over which contestant would win. There are other communities that give legitimacy to the competitive view, such as the hentai game speedrunning community. Such a market would likely remain highly anonymous and stigmatized due to the sexual nature of the activity. However, much like golf before it, the sport will eventually find a mainstream audience. There are many nations where jacking off as a sport is likely to gain traction. However, none would be surprised to learn that the most likely country for such a sport taking root would be the island nation of Japan. This is largely due to the low fertility rate in the country, larger than average population of single people, and its already monolithic pornography industry. In conclusion, in addition to these three key reasons, there are many more arguments to be made for jacking off to be considered a sport. For example, the availability of it to all non-eunuch people across the planet and potential for promoting various ideas surrounding sexual health, such as the dangers of small glass jars and sexually transmitted diseases. The pros of various organizations vastly outweigh the cons. It also seems inevitable that with time the sport would become a designated activity by society as a whole, akin to how the practice of naming one's child buttocks or prostitute is a perfectly acceptable behavior in Japan.